So
understood, guys. Understood.
How you doing, brother? What's good? It's been a while.
Yeah,
it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, it feels like it, but I think that's just the break overall. But now that we got some fights starting back up, man, it's getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to I didn't think I was going to be as excited as I am. Really, I mean, it's not the best way to start the year, but we'll get into that, I guess. But I think I was at the point where I'm willing to take anything. I don't know about you guys.
Same.
Just glad we're back.
Dude, I was actually thinking about watching wrestling. That's how it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad.
I'll be honest, I was tempted to check out the Netflix thing, and then I remembered that I'm 40 years old, and I'm not going down that road. Just not touching it. So what was it? Did anyone here end up watching it? I'm assuming not.
I saw like 2 minutes of it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this production's pretty good." Then I got back out.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it.
That's all I really wanted to watch.
That kills that stone dead.
Well, that's the only reason I watched it is because of the presentation. Like you know how I've been really trying to champion the UFC going to Netflix, and so I wanted to see, like, let's see, did you fix all of the problems that you had from the Tyson Paul fight? So, like, can you actually do what the UFC actually needs you to do? So that's why I watched it for minutes.
And it looks good, production wise, anyway.
Yeah, that is.
Fair enough. How you doing, Torrin? Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly curious about how it would go down as well. I don't think I'm ever gonna. I found wrestling to be a little bit corny for a long time, and I used to be a very big wrestling fan. Like, if you're talking about like post 2005, like, my wrestling knowledge is embarrassingly good. Like, it's not something I'm usually willing to admit, but it kind of reached a point to me where it just, I realized there were a few things watching it unfold and being like, this is lame as hell. It's just cheesy. You always accept that obviously because it's not real in the conventional sense, but you accept that going in. I don't think there's this perception, obviously, of American fans that a lot of them see it as a reality-based thing, which obviously I think some people do, to be fair.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I did when I was younger. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, that's all right if you're a kid. That's different.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
But I'm talking about grown-ass men who are like talking about it, like, why did they do this? And like, I see it pop up on Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, when it got to my age, I was tired of having the conversation of, no, I know it's not real. It's just it's a male soap opera to me, and I enjoy it for that aspect of it. And I was tired of having that conversation, so it's time to just. I got bullied out of it, basically. All right, so so looking towards this card, I've got some thoughts about some of the fights in general. I'm going to try and start the year on a positive note. I know that's a very weird tact for me to take.
Wow. See?
Do you know what
you growing up, man?
It's not,
optimism
I'm growing up, man.
Rubbing off on you.
You know, someone said that to me the other day, but I'm like, you've really become mature lately. And I'm like, I'm 40 years old. Like, this conversation should have happened, 15 years ago or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's not so much the matchups that bother me on this one. It's the betting potential, which is what I'm gonna get into a little bit. So I guess we'll talk about the first matchup. I've got the captions here somewhere. So we've got Rodriguez against Bashi. Do you want to take this one first, Cross? What do you reckon of that one?
Man, I like this matchup. I think it's a really good test for Bashi with making his UFC debut. Christian Rodriguez has kind of been in this position before, pretty much the same spot when he fought Raul Rosas Jr. at bantamweight, and he was the undefeated hot prospect. This fight's up at featherweight though, so and Bashi's a thicker, stronger guy, so I think his grappling and his strength is gonna play a little bit better than Raul Rosas did against Christian Rodriguez, but Christian Rodriguez has skills everywhere the fight goes, and if he can keep this fight on the feet, man, Christian Rodriguez, I think will get this done if he keeps it on the feet. But if it gets to the ground, man, Bashi has some very good control, very strong grappler. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to this one. What about you guys?
Yeah, what do you reckon, Jax?
Man, so originally going into this, when I was kind of studying up on the fighters or whatnot, I was all about Christian Rodriguez, but then we got on Sterling's podcast, and Crossover hit me with all them facts, and I was like, "Damn, what about Bashi though? Like, is he like the new hot prospect type of thing?" So I'm actually going to go with that, man. I think that he has something to him, and Christian Rodriguez was normally, well, I kind of called him the prospect killer, and so. I mean, I don't think that he has it for him. I think that Bashi's, the way that he fights, is going to be able to get it. It'll overcome those jitters that normally get. So I gotta go Bashi.
You're going Bashi. Yeah, I've this is where the moaning and complaining starts for me. I'm gonna be real. I think again, stylistically, I think it's an interesting one. I'm with Cross on that. I think it's a very potentially interesting fight, and I think it is a significant step up for Bashi in particular. I saw him on the Contender Series. I wasn't blown away, to be honest. He is like a young kid. He looked all right, but let's face it, he was fighting an absolute can in that one. And I do get the sense that they are, and that it's obvious that the UFC has high stock in the guy because first time in a promotion, he's not really that well known, and he's on I know it's an Apex card, but he's on the main card to open up and at his age, so they've obviously got a lot of stock in the guy. So I do think it's going to be an interesting test for him. I think Rodriguez is a little bit slippery. The only issue that I've got here is something that one of you brought up. The fact that this fight is happening at featherweight, I think puts it very firmly in Bashi's domain because Rodriguez looked very poor in his featherweight debut in his last one. He got knocked out by Julian Erosa, which it's not a great look, is it? It's not. And the success he had at bantamweight, he was normally coming in having missed weight, and then he was able to bully his way through things a little bit. The only thing I would say is I'm going to favor Bashi in this one along with you guys, but I'm at minus 250. There's no way I'm going anywhere near that. This is a potential banana skin for me. When I look at Bashi's record, he hasn't fought anyone decent. I'm not sure how his cardio is going to hold up. As you said, if Rodriguez can drag it, and Rodriguez does have pretty good takedown defense, and Bashi's not the kind of guy who's going to knock your head off. So thinking about those things, I could see this guy in the distance and it being very sketchy. So if you're somebody who's looking to put Bashi in as a parlay fluffer, I'd probably stay away from that. And you're going to see this is going to be a theme for this card. Funny enough for me, I think from a betting perspective, this is going to be a tough one to call, but I'm going to go Bashi, but I'm staying away from it personally. So we've all gone Bashi. All right. Next one up, then. This is probably the fight that I'm the most excited about for this card, and that's Curtis versus Kopylov. What do you reckon, Cross? We'll go with you first. How do you see this one going?
So it's just gonna play out on the feet. We got pretty much a boxer in Chris Curtis. Like all he does is boxing. He's not gonna throw any kicks. Roman Kopylov is a kick boxer where lets the hands go, good combinations, but very dangerous kicks as well. And he's gonna be the longer guy. So for me, it's Roman Kopylov.
Yeah. I mean, I know this one was really tough because I talk about Kopylov a lot, and I think that he's really good. And then Chris Curtis, I've always liked the way that he fights, even though it's not dynamic. It's just a test of endurance type of fighting. But man, I'm still going back and forth on this. Today, I'll say that I think that Kopylov would win because of the range. he'll find a way to keep it out of boxing range. But I don't know. I might flip tomorrow. I don't know. That was tough. That was a tough one.
Just to add something real quick to that one, something I always go back to with Chris Curtis is how he looked when he fought the guy from, is it Sweden or Iceland, Hermanson. And Hermanson just kept him at the end of his range, and Curtis just could never get to him.
He got really annoyed in that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And that one fight, bro, just is stuck in my brain. And I'm just like, whenever he fights somebody that can keep him at range, it's always gonna give him trouble.
That's exactly it. That's the one. I mean, we all know that that's the issue, so they got to know it's the issue. So maybe they're figuring out ways to get past that. But yeah, it's hard for me not to think about that range.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that Chris Curtis and his camp. I don't get the sense that they work on stuff a lot. I get the sense that they go into the gym every day and pretty much just, you know, their approach to fighting is just grinding out in the gym every day and just beating each other up every day, all day, and just rinse and repeat. I don't get the sense that there's a lot of game planning going into it.
Yeah.
Again, the issue that I have with this though is the odds.
What are these odds?
Yeah,
Copy law minus 250.
Yeah, Chris Curtis is a plus 250 plus at 275, which I think the fight's going to be a lot closer than that.
Yeah,
I think, because I mean, you know, a lot of casuals that come in to watch this, they're going to say potentially that, you know, you see that OV at the end of the name. Kopylov is obviously not a grappler. He's not going to try and do that. This will be a standing matchup. So I don't think we have to worry about Kopylov getting gassed, going for takedowns, or doing anything like that. I actually think Chris Curtis is really good, though. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. I thought he won his last fight against Arnold Allen. He got robbed. And he's generally a tough out. Chris Curtis isn't the kind of guy who's going to go in there and get starched out. For all his flaws, he doesn't really get KO'd. I think it's maybe happened once in his career, if that. I think I have a weird feeling that Curtis is going to edge out a decision in this one.
I can see it.
It's just because of it's the cardio stuff. I can see the first round being firmly Kopylov, where he picks him off a little bit. But I think Chris Curtis is going to find a way. The only thing that's making me a bit wary about this is obviously he's coming off that injury as well. We don't know how
true.
If Kopylov goes for his legs, for example, that could be a really if he goes for leg kicks, that could be a nasty way of kind of unsettling him and causing some problems. I think Chris Curtis is going to outwork him a little bit as the fight goes on. He's a bit more durable than Kopylov. Kopylov's been hurt a couple of times in his last few. His cardio looked a little bit dodgy. I mean, I know it was against Fluffy. That's the guy who just drowns you very, very quickly. Again, because I if I had to outright pick a winner, I would probably go for Kopylov based on the skill set and the distance management. But again, looking at this from a betting perspective, I wouldn't put that money on. I wouldn't put Kopylov down as a minus 275 or whatever it is. I wouldn't do that.
I think it's pretty big.
I wouldn't be parlay fluffering with him. Is what I'm saying. And again, there's some. This needs to be pointed out. Curtis has never lost 2 fights in a row in the UFC. They said the same thing about Neil Magny, but we saw what happened to him.
Yeah, but they also said the same thing about Dustin.
True. And then when you,
Dustin. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say. So you also got the age, man. Chris Curtis 37,
Kopylov
33. You also got 2 southpaws in this fight, so that the outside leg kick is gonna be there. And I know they probably neither have to deal with it because they probably are fighting more orthodox fighters. So just another little thing that's gonna be in this fight that, you know, is probably something that might get overlooked.
Yeah, fair play. I just think again, it's more of the I think when a fight's this close or potentially close on paper, it's just always better to go for the underdog. Just from a value perspective, just bet lower and just hope that it is as close as it could potentially be. But yeah, I'm gonna say that he edges it by decision, but I think it's going to be a really close fight and a lot closer than people are probably expecting. All right. Almeida and Al Hassan, what do you reckon on this one?
We got a brawler against a kickboxer that, for whatever reason, in the UFC wants to turn into a grappler for whatever reason. Like, I just can't figure out Almeida. I mean, you know, coming before he got started in the UFC, I was like, oh, you know, another kickboxer coming over. We're gonna see some good striking, and we just haven't seen any of that since he's been in the UFC. It's literally just get guys in the clinch, on the fence, and even use some takedowns here recently. And Razak Al Hassan is just a powerhouse, you know, just got that one punch KO power. Cardio's a bit suspect, a little questionable there. Like after the first round, I think his power pretty much is out of play because he just starts gassing a little bit. But I think this is going to be an ugly fight, and I'm gonna go with Almeida.
Fair play.
Man, I am not excited for this fight. It's interesting because like they both tend to have fights that are unappealing. It sucks, but because of what they bring to the table, you know, like you said, Almeida, kickboxer, supposed to have, you know, all this striking ability, and then Al Hassan has all this power, but you'll never really see it transfer as much in the fight as it should. So like I'm not excited for it, but I'm just gonna go with Almeida to outlast him due to the cardio that Al has. Like those go up every fight, and I think that Almeida will outlast him in a sloppy fight.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on this being a sloppy, horrible one as well. They're both kind of credentialed cheaters as well.
Oh yeah.
You know, like Almeida, eye poked his way to. I mean, that was one of the worst eye poking. Nobody brings him up because obviously nobody really cares about him that much. But he literally eye poked Ihor Peteria about 12 times in that fight.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a horrible. And he barely squeaked over the line in that one as well. I mean, Ihor was getting his eyes dug out and still was there in his face. The Almeida thing, I'm not convinced by him at all. Obviously, he joined MMA really, really late. He's a somewhat of a credentialed kickboxer. Like he didn't have an amazing kickboxing career, but it was solid. You know, he did pretty well there. I think his experience and abilities in MMA though are not quite there. I'm not convinced by this guy at all. And Al Hassan, as you said, has his issues as well. He's got his cardio issues, but I think he's obviously got a lot more experience within MMA. Again, I feel like Al Hassan's got a path here if he makes this a little bit uglier and goes for clinching and tries to wrestle him a little bit and take him down. I think that could be an interesting way of doing that. Whether he decides to do that or not is going to be, I think, what's going to tell this fight. Because if he goes swinging against him, Almeida is going to be the better striker, you'd assume, with Al Hassan having a bit more power. If it remains that way the entire fight, then you would assume that Almeida will just land more because he's just more technically capable. There's too many unknowns for me in this one, and again, it's just the betting. The betting is what makes this a very tricky one. I wouldn't advise anyone to bet on this one either. It feels like that kind of night. I'm gonna go with Hassan. I just think like he's a better all rounder, and despite his cardio issues, I can't get that Peteria fight out of my mind. He looked dog shit in that fight.
Yeah,
Almeida, he looked horrible.
Look bad.
I know he's training with Alex Pereira now, and there's a bit of that, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by him. I think he came into the game too late, and I think it's going to be a horrible fight. That if Al Hassan plays the game plan the right way, I think he could surprise a few people. So I think this is another potential parlay buster here. So I'm going to go with Al Hassan to potentially upset the apple cart, but I'm not brimming with confidence or anything. Okay, so I'm playing the contrarian again this year.
Some things never change, bro.
I can't. I swear I don't plan. I don't plan this. It's not. I think about this beforehand, and I feel like you're more. You guys are the contrarian, and I'm the one who's towing the line here. You guys want it. All right, so the co-main event. Strangely, I don't know how this one has managed to get so high up the card, but whatever. Ponzinibbio and Harris. What do you reckon?
So earlier in the week, man, I was leaning Ponzinibbio, but then I heard Jax on another pod, and I'm like, I kind of came over to Carlton Harris. But I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I'm all over the place with this fight. Like, don't really know what to think. Like, this gonna be, I think I said it on the pod, this gonna be the Bengay, the Aspercream, like all of that fight right here, man. Like, they just gonna be in there just trying to have a good time. But I think I've settled on Carlton Harris now.
Yeah. Carlson, he's an underdog, ain't he?
I think so.
I think it's a slight. I think he's a slight underdog, which is interesting.
Slight underdog.
Very interesting. I think the Ponzinibbio's done. I think what's probably going to happen is Carlson's going to catch him with something and put him to sleep. Because I mean, he's been hit, man, a lot in his recent fights. And I know he doesn't fight as much as he used to, but I mean, he gets hit, and he's got a nice life for him outside the octagon. I think that dude's done. So Carlson's gonna knock his ass out.
Yeah, I was expecting to be on the contrarian side of this one, but I'm with you guys. I'm going with Harris as well. I feel a bit sorry for Ponzinibbio. You know, like he there was a time when he was like looking like he could potentially be a contender. You know, he was number 3. He was doing really well for a while, and then obviously the injury really disrolled him, and he hasn't really been the same man since. He's lost 4 in 5 as well, which is really ugly reading. And I actually think Harris is reasonably decent. I know he got knocked out by Chaos Williams in his last fight, but he was coasting pretty well and doing pretty well in that fight, and then he just got clipped and dropped. And I'm hoping he'll learn from that to some extent, because I do think he's pretty well rounded. And I remember that one really well because I had a winning parlay on that one, and he was the last leg of it. Same old story that I had all of last year, pretty much. Like, the last leg always fails. But I like his tank. I think I also like his ability to win in different ways as well. Like, he's somebody who carries his cardio into later on in the fights. And I always value somebody who can finish fights later on. He has a few submission wins in the 3rd round. I quite like that. So he's shown that when people get, when the fight gets into deeper waters, that's when he turns the burners on a little bit, and I like that. And again, I think Ponzi's just screwed. Now I think he's done. So I'm expecting Harris to win this. Probably a decision, I would go. But I think he takes over after round 1 and gets it done. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Harris. And it's actually the one fight on here where you could potentially make money on it, because the odds are, again, pretty decent. And I think Harris is just better. So I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Main event. Perfect way to start the year. We've got an Apex card, and then we've got women fighting. So I feel like they've certainly been watching our channels this year. Dicks.
I knew he was gonna say something about it.
Of course, you already know it, man.
I'm never gonna change. I know Coach Nate's giving me a hard time right now. I always make horrible picks, Coach Nate. Hang around. You're going to see a lot worse than this year. I promise you that. So sometimes I do it just to piss people off as well. Yeah, so what do you reckon about these two? They've obviously fought before, quite some time ago. So we do have, tape that we can watch on both of them actually competing against each other. How do you see this one going in 2025?
So, man, earlier this week when me and Jax were on the pod, I was leaning Mackenzie Dern, and like I heard what Jax had to say, and he brought me on over to Amanda Hebus. I think Mackenzie Dern's, her striking, I know it's gotten better, but it still got a little way to go to get up to where it needs to be. and then her takedowns just aren't there. Like, she really struggles to get the takedowns. Even though I think over a 5-round fight at some point is going to end up on the mat. I think Hebus can handle herself though. So I'm going with Amanda Hebus.
Man, I'm laughing at what Leroy put in the chat. He said, "Nah, this main event is amazing. I hope it goes out 25 minutes."
It's nice when you can multitask, isn't it, when you're watching a fight. You know, you can enjoy a nice fight and have the tissues and lotion on one side as well. It's a perfect
Oh man, this is crazy. But dude, yeah, I lean towards Hebus actually winning the fight, but I really think that McKay is capable of winning this fight. Like, I think that she has all the tools to win this fight, but I feel like Hebus is going to still be able to move around late. It's going to go all 5 rounds, obviously.
Obviously.
But that she's going to be able to move around in 4 and 5 and take advantage of her movement when it comes to fighting Dern on the feet. Because Dern, she's gotten better, but she still isn't there yet. So I think that Hebus will outsmart her. Even though I probably am going to pick Dern with my money. You know what I'm saying? I'm probably going to bet on Dern because I think that she's a live dog.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Again, I feel like it's the betting odds that are kind of swaying me a little bit on this one as well. I think Dern is a really, really bad fighter. I'm going to start off with that. I think she's awful. I think she her striking is, I wouldn't go as far as to say Pena levels, because nobody has Pena level striking, but it's bad. And her takedowns, for somebody who depends so heavily on jiu-jitsu, her takedown game is not that credentialed as well. It's not amazing. She kind of hopes to find herself in those situations and then try and latch girls up. I will say though, the reason why I'm a bit worried about this one is I remember this fight when they fought the first time. And I remember Rebus was really good at kind of preventing the takedowns and then really beat the shit out of her on the like standing. She was touching her up the entire fight. But my concern about that is when you get matchups like this, what tends to happen is the one who had the easier time tends to overlook the person a little bit in the rematch. And I think that while I've just spent the last few minutes completely shitting on Dern and her abilities, I do think she has improved significantly from where she was. I do think her striking has improved a little bit, and her takedown game is much better than it was. Certainly, she's shown that over the last few fights. So I think she's going to make this tough, and that's again from a betting perspective. I can see this going. This has like split decision written all over it.
Yeah.
I do have a feeling I'm gonna stick with you guys, and I'm gonna say I do think the Rebus edges it by, I'm gonna say 3 rounds to 2, just being able to keep it on that keep it on the feet for that penultimate round. You know, the potential swing round that's in there. I reckon she gets taken down for 2 rounds and clearly loses them, but then manages to keep another 3 on the feet, and then just kind of like wins by just out, because Dern is just too easy to hit, and Rebus is a pretty decent striker. She's not like amazing, but I think she's just going to touch her up more. And I've noticed more in women's fights, certainly over the last 6 months, that they're favoring that, you know, that how the women's rules seem to be a little bit different. Whereas if they get somebody down and manage to control, even if they get touched up, they tend to win the rounds. I'm seeing that happen less and less in women's MMA over the last 6 months. So that could be a trend to look out for. And I just think that based on that, I think that Rebus is just going to throw more volume.
Yep.
But again, if I was betting this, I would take the over all day long. If I'm parlaying this one, I'm taking this to go the distance, or you know, it's probably looking at over 4.5 would probably be the way to go. I can see this going all 5, and that's where I'd lay the money if I was betting.
The over under has to be 4.5. I couldn't see it being anything else.
Do you know what I didn't realize here? Like I use a betting app called Paddy Power, and I didn't realize here that you can, because obviously they set the lines based on what the fight is. I didn't realize that you could bet. They have like a subcategory. So, and I've been using this app for like 10 years. I didn't realize they have a subcategory where you can bet on other rounds.
Oh, really?
So, you know, like if a fight's so if a fight's better over, if it's better like over 4.5, you can bet on it to go to, obviously the odds just get lowered. But it's something I've been doing lately, and I managed to clean up a little bit at the end of last year. So I like the again, and I actually think it's going to be a good fight. I think it will be scrappy. I think there's going to be moments where they're just beating the shit out of each other. And one thing I will say about Dern is she can take a beating.
She can,
especially lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Rebus edge in it, but that's one of those ones that could go either way. And if I was laying money on it, we say this all the time. If you have two women that on paper look very, very closely contested, always bet on the underdog. You just do, because women favorites more often than not screw you over. So that's where I'd be going. All right, boys. So I wanted to talk about some of the upcoming fights this year. There's I think 3 or 4 that we've got. Sorry, excuse me. There's 3 or 4 that I wanted to talk about. I obviously don't want to talk about 311 because we'll get into that a little bit later on when we talk about the card on the whole. But I wanted to talk about some of the fights coming further on down the line that have recently been announced. And I'm going to kind of pair 2 of these together. So we've got Cejudo and Yadong was one that was announced on the same card as Font versus Cruz, which is a matchup that surprised me as well. What do you guys think about those matchups, and how do you see them going?
I think. Go ahead.
No, you got it. You got it, bro.
So for Cejudo and Song Yadong, man, I feel like it's been more apparent that Cejudo was never big enough for this weight class. Like, I feel like he's starting to get big boyed a little bit. With a lot of the fighters that he's running up against, and Song Yadong is a big dude, man, for the weight class. And I think that he trains takedowns and all that. He's been doing that this whole time because of the type of fighter that he is. And I don't think that Henry Cejudo is big enough or strong enough to get him down. I think Song finds a way to keep it on the feet, and he outstrikes him. So, like, that's what I guess is going to happen. I don't know. What do you think, Cross?
So for me, like, I've always liked Son Yadong, but I think as he's moved up in bantamweight, he's come up against guys where the skill is like very close, it's neck and neck, but he's always a little bit of the smaller guy. And with Cejudo, he's the bigger guy. So that, and then on top of it, Cejudo's 37 years old. Like, for me, it's Son Yadong because I think this is made for him, because I think his takedown defense, he's not going to have any issues there. And I think he's definitely the better striker and has more power in his hands as well. So for me, it's Son Yadong.
I don't understand this matchup at all. Especially with both of the 2 fights being on the same card. I think this is like a major missed opportunity. I don't know why it made more sense for me for them to do Font versus Yadong, and for them to do Cejudo versus Cruz.
Yeah, no,
they didn't do it that way.
Yeah,
100%. That's for sure. Way more sense.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I'm with you guys as well. I feel like Cejudo's on a campaign to ruin his legacy every time he gets in there. I mean, he's kind of done so already, and he's not going to be seen in it. He's not going to be in anyone's top 25 list, which he could have potentially been if he just remained retired.
It's
given
crazy
what he'd done. Yeah, I mean, he's nowhere near it now, which is I don't really feel sorry for him. I mean, I don't know what the game plan was with that one, to walk away and then to come back and do it like this, but whatever. Yeah, I think Yadong is going to be younger. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be the striking is going to be better. I don't see Cejudo being able to easily take him down either. He's always been too small for bantamweight, and I think he got a little bit lucky. Being able to get
me,
the wins
that's
that he
becoming
got.
more and more clear that he got lucky. I mean,
you got the right matchups at the right times.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think this is another bad one. I don't get the move for this one. I don't get why they didn't just do a legacy fight between him and Cruz. I'm going to keep going back to that. It doesn't make sense to me. And to have it on the same card as well just makes it even more stupid. So it wasn't like it was a timing issue or a, you know, I don't understand it. I mean, a lot of people have been calling for Cruz to fight Aldo. I was a little bit less keen on that one just because I think, I don't know. It's an interesting fight in terms of, again, you got two greats in the game, but like I just think Aldo's, you know, with the activity that he's had and everything, I think he'd
More fresh.
probably destroy him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it might be something we end up seeing somewhere down the line if Cruz gets through this unscathed. But yeah, I'm with Coach Nate. I think again, this is the building of just building that Asian star again. They'd love to get Yadong back in there. So yeah, I think he beat. And again, having Henry Cejudo on your CV still means something to some extent, I guess. And I guess that's why they're doing it. So what about Cruz and Font? What do you reckon of that one?
For me, this is a tougher one because, you know, Cruz with that footwork and all over the place, and you don't really know where he's gonna be. And then Font is just always on that front foot with that snappy jab. So I'm curious to see how the two styles mesh, just because Font is just primarily boxing with some kicks mixed in, and Cruz is just throwing everything at you on all these different movements, and it's hard to get a read on them. But I don't know. I mean, this was tough for me, but I would say right now I'm leaning Font, but I could definitely change my mind very easily on this fight.
What do you reckon, Jax?
I think I might be through doubt Rob Font. Every time I doubt him, he comes through. He can't get past that last hump of working his way into the top 5 for whatever reason. I think he's not as talented as maybe the people that make it up there, but when it comes to these situations, like, he always shows up, man. So I'm gonna go Rob Font on that. I think the Cruz is old. He's falling apart, and so, like, I think this is it for him. I don't know if he retires on this one, but I think this is definitely the slide starter for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that, like, obviously a prime Dominic Cruz is one of the best fighters ever in terms of like IQ. He's one of the best to ever do it in there, and it's a shame that the injuries have obviously messed up his entire career. You know, it's obviously something that's really well documented. Rob Font looked fantastic in his last fight. He looked so good. He's one of those ones who's had a really weird, like, kind of up and down career though. You know, I think he's very solid though. I'm with you guys as well. I think you have to take Rob Font on that based on the activity and based on just how good his last performance was. I think he's at the right gym now. He's doing the right things. Because he did move gyms, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did. Maybe I made that up.
Isn't he like on the East Coast somewhere? I think
on the something cartel. I can't remember the name of it. You talking about the camp with Calvin Cater and all them?
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard that he moved. The New England Cartel, I think it's called. Yeah. I like Rob Font. I always have. And again, he's always been in like really, really tough fights as well. He's fought everybody.
Yeah, he has.
And when you think about the guys that give Font trouble are the guys that have big power, like Cheeto Vera. And even in the Cheeto Vera fight, Font was winning the fight. It's just he would get clipped at the end of the round and get dropped.
Yeah. He's a good fighter, man. He's a really good fighter.
He's good. I like Rob Font. I think I think he'll get this done pretty easily. I like him in that. Another fight that's been booked. I want to know what you guys think of this one because I'm a bit confused by it. Curtis Blaydes is fighting Kuniev. I don't know why this is happening.
I don't understand.
I'm a bit confused by this one.
I don't know.
Shallow division.
I mean, I guess, but like that's pretty down totem pole to be fighting somebody we never heard of? Like, what's the benefit for Curtis Blaydes? Why would you do this? I don't know. It's weird.
That
That's more
bag,
what I was
some
thinking.
money, like up that pay a little bit. I mean, this can be kind of sort of what they did with Abus Magomedov and Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
It shows that the UFC are paying attention to PFL though, and it shows that they're paying attention a bit more than they're making claims to. Because this guy is nobody, really. And it does kind of highlight the fact that heavyweight obviously is a little bit shallow. I think this is really harsh on Curtis Blaydes though.
For sure.
I don't get why they're doing this. And I mean, the guy is reasonably dangerous. I've had a little look. I saw him fight Renan Ferreira a little while ago, and he looked decent in moments in that fight. I think he got dusted, if I remember rightly. And then it got he looked good in parts, and then it got overturned. I don't know what the reason was for the no contest. I'm assuming one of them popped or something happened.
Yeah.
But and he's fought some. I mean, it's not like he's been fighting Kansas his entire career, so I kind of get it from that perspective. Looking through his record, he's fought guys that are like 10-2, 11. But I don't know how much stock you can take in that, because when you're seeing these no-name guys with this record, it's Cans fight another Cans, really, isn't it? So it's like, how much can you take in it? But it's a strange one to me. I don't know who this guy knows, but I'm assuming. But I have a weird feeling here that Blaydes is going to get fucking chinned as well.
That's what I'm worried about. He always finds himself in bad positions. Just when
he's another guy that just can't quite get over that hump.
Hump. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ultimate nearly man situation, where he's kind of, once he gets into that top 5, he really struggles. But I hope he does get it done, because I like Curtis Blaydes, and I'd like to see and again, he's still relatively young in the division. He could still make a few waves and whatnot.
Yeah. And he always manages to find a way to get hit by a nuke at some point.
Yeah, his chin is next level dusty, to be fair.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's not great. The last fight in 2025 I want to talk about, before we talk about who we think is going to end the year as a champion in each division, which I'm sure is going to piss a lot of people off in the chat, because I'm going rogue on this one.
Oh no,
I'm going rogue. There's rumors that I'm not sure if it's been booked yet. I don't think it's fully official, but they are talking about Leon Edwards versus JDM in London, which obviously I was planning on probably going to the card anyway, but this will pretty much seal it for me if they manage to book this one. How do you guys see that one going?
I think the path to victory is very clear for JDM. Pretty much doing exactly what he does, on the front foot, marching forward with the boxing and those combinations. Take away Leon Edwards' airspace. Don't give him any room to throw all the feints, all the kicks, and just get in his face and just make him uncomfortable. And I think Leon Edwards will wilt. I mean, I think we saw that in the Bilal Muhammad fight.
Yeah. I have to totally agree with you, man. Like, I think that Edwards has some quit in him. I mean, and Bilal let us all see it. It's like, okay, we forgot about that. That Kamaru Usman thing made you quit. Happened a long time ago, and I feel like the quit it's out now. All you got to do is make him quit, and so I think JDM does the same thing. He makes him quit at home.
Oh,
embarrassing.
I think I've kind of come to terms with the fact here that, like, I was never really the biggest Leon Edwards fan. I think I just more loved or propped Edwards up because I just couldn't stand Bilal, and it was more to do with that than anything else. But yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I think JDM's gonna do nasty things to him, and I hope he does, because he's somebody that I think obviously we haven't seen him around for a little while, and I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him get a title shot at some point. And he's gonna have to get through. He's gonna have to get through Leon Edwards in order to do it. And I think it's a nice matchup for him. I think he does a lot of body work, and I think he yeah, I think he gets through that one. I hope it gets made, and it'd be nice to have JDM back as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I heard that injury though, and I think he got like an infection or something. I heard it was pretty nasty. So I hope he definitely, you know, everything's all good. He's back healthy and is ready to go.
Yeah, it seemed to be a lot worse than people were making out, because it's kept him out for a long time, and it's funny with those ones how they can get very complicated, right? It's yeah, it's those infections that can happen on a hospital bed and stuff. We've seen it happen with a few fighters where they've been kind of had their careers destroyed from it. But hopefully he's through the worst of it now, and the fact that he's talking about coming back is really good news. And I like it as a matchup. I don't think Leon Edwards is an easy out for anybody. I do think he quits a little bit in there sometimes, but he never gets steamrolled really by anyone in terms of he gets like destroyed and then he's out of there. I think it will just be when he loses, it tends to be the way that Bilal did it to him, where it's sort of just, you know, he gets the energy ripped out of him and just, you know, just gets ground down. And I could see JDM potentially doing that. But if JDM can go out there and finish him, his stock will be at an all-time high. And I think welterweight kind of needs it at this point, because the Rakhmonov and Gary fight was a bit weird, and that you felt like the loser of that fight, his stock rose more than the winners did in a weird way. Like it felt like Gary was more came out of that a lot better off than Rakhmonov did. So like I said, it's a strange situation, and I feel like welterweight really needs that injection right now. And I think JDM going out there and putting a really big beat down on Leon Edwards and getting him out of there would be exactly what we need. But I'm kind of with what Coach Nate is suggesting on this one. I feel like that's what he kind of needs to do to make sure he wins, because the cardio for me is a bit of a concern. So if JDM is going to win that, I think he's got to really, really hurt him. And Leon's very, very good at, you know, I think like his striking is really, really underrated. I think he is one of the elite guys in terms of keeping distance really well. He gets often overlooked because he's not somebody who sparks people out. But he's really good at keeping distance. He's very technical. And I think the fight against Bilal was very, I don't think it was representative of what Leon's capable of. I do think the time thing got to him. And I do think he underestimated Bilal a little bit and how much pressure he was willing to put on him.
Yep. True.
I like it as a fight. And I kind of, as much as I like Leon Edwards, and I do, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just better for everyone if JDM wins this one.
I can see JDM getting a finish too in this fight, for real.
I can see.
Yeah, I feel like Leon's got to do something here. He's got to kind of go for it to win the fans back, and I think that could be his undoing. I think if he goes in, you know, if aggressive Leon goes in there against JDM, he could come unstuck. That's the one guy you don't do that with. I wish we'd seen that more in some of his other fights. I wish we'd seen it more against Colby. I think he could have finished him. I wish we'd seen it against Bilal. I think he could have done much better if he fought on the front foot and wasn't being so defensive and reacting. But JDM probably isn't the best guy to do that with. So we'll see. But I do like it as a matchup, and I hope it gets signed off on.
Yeah, it's a good fight.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So to conclude this segment today, I want to talk about who we think is going to end the year. So it could be a case of potentially titles change hand more than once. So I'm not talking about who's going to be the next champion. I'm talking about who we think is going to finish the year in each division as champion. So we'll start with flyweight. What do you reckon about this one?
I kind of want to throw a curveball in here, but I honestly don't think it'll happen though. I'm gonna go with Pantoja, man. Like I think he is just head and shoulders above everybody. And even the guys that I think give him the toughest fight, he's already got multiple wins over him. So I don't know where the division really goes. My curveball out of left field is Muhammad Mokaev gets back into the UFC at some point. But I think even if that were to happen at some point, he wouldn't get a title fight in 2025 at some point. So That's my curveball, but I think it's gonna come between the next title fight is gonna be either Kaikar France or Manel Kape, but we'll see.
Man. So I gotta go with your boy, man. I'm gonna go with your boy, Manel Kape. I think that's gonna be the champ at the end. He's fighting Brandon Royval for soon. And so if he wins that fight, he's right there. I mean, he's newer to the conversation recently to being somebody that Pantoja could be fighting. So, and he talks, and I think the UFC likes the attention that he brings to the division. So I think he finds a way to do it, man. I'm gonna go with your boy Frankie.
Yeah, I would love for it to be Cap, and I really want it to be. Nobody loves Cap more than I do. I love him very, very much. And I think he's exactly what the division needs. I mean, I think obviously his performance against Bruno Silva was amazing. It felt very box office the way what I like about Cap is when he's in a flow state and when you give him the right matchup, his fights are really outstanding. Like they feel special and that they're worth watching because he does style out a little bit. I want for it to be Cap. I don't think it's gonna be. I'll be honest, like when he was matched up against Royval, my heart sank a bit. Because I think Royval's outstanding. He's so tough, can do everything pretty well. I mean, I know the takedown defense isn't great, but Cap isn't really going to do that to you. I think of everyone he could have fought on the come up, breaking into that top 5, Royval's one of the nastier ones I would have wanted him to stay away from. And Cap does seem to have that issue, like because he manages time so badly and he messes around in the cage a lot. He's kind of about style points and kind of it often messes him up. And I think against somebody like Royval, who's again tough and really well rounded, I don't love it for him. So I don't think it's going to be Cap as much as I'd love to be wrong. I have a feeling it's going to be. I'm going with Tatsuro Taira.
I thought about him too.
Yeah, because I have a feeling that they're going to do Pantoja and Kai Kara France. And I think Kai Kara France is going to come through that. It really depends on how many times Pantoja fights this year is going to be the issue with Taira. Because I think Taira is going to get one. Obviously, he's going to fight in the meantime, and I think he wins pretty convincingly. He, to me, has got the highest ceiling. He did a lot better against Royval than I thought he was going to do. I know he was the underdog, but I was like, this is crazy. I think Royval is going to win that. And I bet heavily on Royval and was really sweating until the end there. Because Taira did a lot better than I was expecting him to in that fight. I think he's got the biggest ceiling and the biggest room for growth. And seeing him from fight to fight, he's improved dramatically. He's the youngest guy who's near the top as well.
True.
I think he wins more. I think he wins one more convincingly. And then by the time Pantoja has fought again, he's going to be in another war with somebody, more mileage taken off the clock. And I think when he bumps into, they really want a Japanese superstar to take the reins as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could get the opportunity just purely based on that. Right. I think what could happen this year is I think Pantoja will beat France and then Royval will beat Cap. And Royval should really be the one to get the title shot again. But I can see why they're not inclined to do that, seeing as he's already fought Pantoja twice. Yes. And I think if Taira can get a really convincing win in the meantime, they'll fuck Royval over again, and Taira will jump the queue. And I can see him fighting Pantoja at the end of the year and beating him quite convincingly, just based on where their careers are. Again, you know how much I rate Pantoja, but I feel like he's getting older. He's getting more torn in the game. He's every fight of his seems to be a war, apart from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Taira's going to catch him on the way up. And I'm going with Taira to win and snatch the belt at the end of the year. It's a bit of it's not ridiculous, but it's not the most controversial one I'm going to say today. But it's a bit of a stab in the dark, I'll admit. All right, so what do you reckon about bantamweight?
Brother, Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
He's too complete, man. Too complete. Like good everywhere. Just controls really good striking, really good kicks, really good grappling, of course. You know, we know who he's training with. Like the pedigree's unmatched. Shark Tank of a division, but I mean, I think Umar is the guy.
Coach Nate, it's
You're a
crazy.
fan.
I think I find it's hard for me not to say Umar. I mean, I can't. His toughest or weirdest fight is this fight that's coming up, and I think that he's going to win it. You know, I think he's going to beat Merab, and I feel like that's the only person in the division that's not going to allow Umar to use the game plan that he always uses. So it's got to be Umar.
Yeah, I'm with you boys on this one. I was like, I was very like skeptical about the Umar thing because you guys know how highly I rate Corey Sandhagen. I think he's one of those guys that from like in terms of fighters that we talk about that are well rounded, I think he's the most underrated guy probably in the UFC in that regard. Like I think like the improvements that he's made, especially with the way that he wrestles and stuff now, and he's able to apply that area to it because he's always been an elite striker.
Yeah.
But the wrestling aspect was always where he struggled, and I feel like he's made leaps and bounds in that regard. Watching him in his last, and again, he tends to fight everyone good. I thought he was gonna give Umar more trouble than he was, but in watching that fight, and it was a very very technical fight. Instead of me thinking, oh, you know, Corey Sandhagen isn't as good as I thought, it more put me on the side of Umar is even better than I thought he was. It was more to do with that. I think he's going to mow through Merab. I think he'll have one or two rounds that might be a little bit tricky. You know, the way Merab, I think he's going to dominate him generally. And I think once he gets his hand on the belt, he's going to be the champion for as long as he wants to be. Because I think he's that good. He's probably the best. He's one of those new breed of Dagestanis who don't just have. I think he's got a slightly less good wrestling game than the likes of an Islam and a Khabib and those guys, but the striking is just way more developed. Those guys are getting scarier because they're starting to add that aspect to their game as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this wasn't easy. Again, this was probably the easiest one on the list for me. I think it's going to be Umar, and I can see him being champion for the next 5 years, let alone this year.
And then on top of it, man, the Nurmagomedovs, like the ones that are actually related, they're 21-2 in the UFC between Khabib, Umar, and Abu Bakr. Abu Bakar's got both the losses. Like, and then if you want to throw Islam in there for fun, they have 3 losses between 4 fighters.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They're doing
It is wild.
They're doing it right.
Yeah, so I think that one was fairly simple. All right, so featherweight. What do you reckon?
Who could I go with in featherweight? Man, you know what? This one's tough for me, but I guess I'll go with Ilya Topuria. I guess I'll go with Ilya Topuria.
I don't know if I take what Ilya Topuria said seriously. He's not a person that jokes like that. I think he really is going to move to lightweight, and I think he is going to drop the belt. I believe him, and I think that somehow or another, Evloev works his way to being the champion, being one of our more boring champions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. Yeah, I think that the UFC don't want it, but I think he just keeps winning, man, finding ways to win. And I think he's going to keep doing it, man. He convinced me in the last fight. So I'm going to go with Evloev.
Decision merchants are the way to go.
There will be no finishes on the way to the top.
Nope.
No finishes.
No, he has impressed me a lot more in his last few. I think like because the last few haven't been like boring decisions. They've been pretty good.
Yeah.
And he actually managed to have an entertaining grappling fight with Sterling, which was I really enjoyed that fight.
That was a really good fight.
Same.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I was expecting it to be a snooze fest, but it wasn't. It was really good. I think Ilya has kind of reneged on. I think he's clarified his statements on what he's going to do with featherweight. I think he said that he is going to move up but that he's going to fight in both divisions. So I think purely from a financial perspective, it would be very stupid of him to give up the belt. And I think he understands that.
It would.
That never really tends to work out well.
Oh, you know what? Here's a question for y'all.
I
asked this. I was in Leo Cooper's chat earlier today, and I asked this question. If Ilya were to leave the division, comparing his legacy versus Conor's legacy, like which one thing is the better featherweight legacy? Just featherweight.
Ilya for me. I mean, the two guys he beat and how he beat them. Like, I get what Conor did to Aldo, but I mean, Ilya did it to Volk and Max. Like, can't beat that.
Yeah, I'm with that as well. I think those two wins stack up against any two back-to-back wins in any point in UFC history. I think those two.
Yeah.
I think if you look at any division and any situation, I think those two back-to-back wins stack up against anything. And it wasn't just the names; it's the way he did it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It was nasty. I think Ilia Topuria right now is the best all-round fighter on the roster. I really think that. And some people are going to balk at that, but like what people don't understand about Ilia Topuria is this guy was a wrestler. Well, this guy was a grapple-heavy fighter coming up, and we haven't had to see that from him. And I think when he gets drawn into a situation where he has to do that, I think people are going to realize how elite this guy is at everything. The boxing is amazing. I've never from a technical standpoint, I'm firmly in Crossover's corner because doing the videos, you know, I've been doing the best of and the worst of. The worst of video comes out tomorrow, funnily enough. I've had to rewatch a lot of Ilya's fights again, and just seeing the way that this guy pieces people apart,
man.
And the positions that he puts, it's unreal. He's kind of emerged to me as probably my favorite guy to watch. You know, I don't think anybody beats him at 145.
Yeah.
Like, I do have reservations about him going up to 155 because I do think he's quite small. And we know what happened with him with Jai Herbert when Jai Herbert clipped him and had him really, really hurt. It wasn't really a great look. I wouldn't put it past him to go up and do some damage there either. But I don't think the UFC allow it for now because I think Makhachev is so. He's not the most active champion. I mean, it could be worse. I think he fights twice this year, and I'm going to get to him in a minute. I think unless Ilya can talk all the game that he wants, but I think unless he's offered a championship fight right away, I don't think he does it. And I think he ends up staying at featherweight and just, you know, I can't see anybody doing anything. And if there was anybody that I'd have to have potentially, if Ilya, let's say we live in a scenario where Ilya does give up the belt, I'd go with Diego Lopez in that situation over Evloev.
I thought about that too.
Lopez just has something about him.
Yeah.
He just has that finishing ability, and he was so close to beating Evloev on short notice as well. I can see those two potentially fighting again. I reckon they might put Evloev through that. Evloev should be fighting Ilya next. But I don't know. I mean, and I'm with you guys in that, you know, we talked about this before in the fights we want to see for 2025. It makes all the sense in the world for them to do Diego Lopez and Topuria.
Yes.
In Spain, potentially would be great. But I think we get the Evloev fight with him. And like I said, at 145, Topuria is just gonna mow through anybody. I can't see him losing. And it wouldn't surprise me if he went up to 155 and gave a whole load of guys trouble as well. He's that elite.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see that for him. So I'm with Ilya Topuria finishing the year. It's a bit of a boring one, but I see I think he's just that good. Lightweight. I'm assuming this is going to be quick for everyone as well.
Yeah, I think so, brother. Islam Makhachev. I mean, I'm picking Islam against Arman, but even if Arman wins, they're gonna rematch, and I think Islam would win a rematch. I mean, for me, it's Islam Makhachev.
But that's exactly what I was going to say. I think it's going to go. Arman wins this fight, and of course they're going to do a rematch, and Islam's the rematch. And by the end of the year, he'll just be going back with the same belt that he had. So, yeah, I think Islam.
Yeah, I'm.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
No,
Here it
no.
comes. He's gonna do it.
I feel like you're. No. I'm agreeing with you. I actually think Sarukin's going to beat Makhachev
Yeah,
in a couple of weeks. The main reason I believe it is like I think the Poirier fights really alarmed me a little bit with Islam. Like again, it was a fight that I rewatched recently. Islam looked really good on the feet in that fight. He really did. I mean, a lot of people I had a couple of people sending videos to me saying that fight was 2-2 going into the fifth, and I know Jax probably agrees with that as well.
nah, it wasn't.
It was. I had Islam 3-1 up. Sorry,
Yeah, I had
3-0 up
3-1.
originally, and then I think I edged Poirier in the fourth round, being a little bit generous. But I think
Yeah.
rewatching that entire fight, in fact, I watched it yesterday in its entirety, getting some clips from it, and Islam was piecing him up for the majority. It was very hard to find Poirier highlights in that fight where he was on the front foot. He felt like he was kind of defensively surviving for most of that fight. But it worried me how human he looked in that fight as well, though.
Yeah.
He really made a meal of it. He really struggled with the takedowns and stuff as well. Like really struggled with them. And Poirier's got decent takedown defense. It's not like he's horrible. But what strikes me more than anything else is Arman looks fucking starving. Like he look and I feel like since Islam has been champion, even though Arman has fought other people, he's been training specifically to fight Islam again this entire time. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And again, it's that aspect of because Islam beat him before, I think he's expecting that it's just going to be business as usual. He just has to go in there and do him, and he's going to do it again. And I think Arman is he's gonna have to be killed to be put out of this one. I just have that feeling. I think he's gonna put the bit between his teeth, and he's gonna go in there with that extra little bit of hunger that's gonna push him over the line. And because Makhachev is so inactive, I didn't even consider that they might do the rematch straight away, and that's kind of thrown me off kilter a little bit because I was gonna just say, I think Arman gets to the end of the year and remains as champion. What disappointing, like lightweight sucks, you know. Like I was looking through it. If Arman doesn't beat him, that's a write-off for the rest of the year. I think that's the worrying thing. Legitimately, the division is really, really lacking anybody coming up that could potentially upset things. So we kind of need Arman to do something here, and I'm kind of wishing it into existence because imagine if Arman could beat him at this. What a way to start 2025 that would be. Just somebody who appeared to be like, and then you get this new hungry champion who's young, talks a little bit of shit, beats up people in the crowd as well.
Yeah,
you need a little bit of that.
But you think Islam's gonna lose with Habib in his corner?
I think the memes would be hilarious.
Yeah, I think he will.
I think Khabib having a meltdown. Because we know Khabib has a tendency to do that as well. Like he tends to lose his shit. Like when Islam isn't doing
that's true.
Exactly what he's expecting him to do. I don't know. I mean, I just feel that Arman. Have you seen the way the guy's looking as well?
Dude, he looks huge.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, he looks
Really
shredded
good
beyond
shape.
belief as well. I know it doesn't really matter, but you know, I don't know. I just have a feeling. I feel more and more that he's going to upset. It's just because I so badly want 2025 to start that way.
Yeah.
I just think him getting, and I don't want two. Well, I know he's not a Nurmagomedov, but I don't want two Dagestani champions, which we're gonna, you know, pretty much not fighting that often in 2025, and just holding up to because that's the Islam pisses me off with that shit, man. It's yeah, I just don't think he's I don't like him as champion because I just don't think he fights enough. I like him as a personality. I think he's a great fighter, but I want to see him get slumped. Is basically what I'm saying. I need to see it. I need the year to start off that way with just not feeling like more of the same. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm surprised that you had that. I was thinking, wow, you guys are gonna jump all over me when I say this, but I'm going with Arman as well. I'm not betting on it, but I'm gonna say it publicly. And I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going with Arman to finish 2025 as the champion, just about. But that rematch show is a good one. All right, what about welterweight?
Let's see.
I'm gonna throw a little curveball, and I'm gonna say Islam Makhachev.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, how does
okay.
this
Yeah.
transpire?
So
I need
this
to know.
goes down. Shavkat Rakhmonov beats Bilal Muhammad, and then Islam wins next week, and then he goes up later in the year and fights Shavkat Rakhmonov, and I think that fight will be very tough for Islam, just for the sheer size of Shavkat. Shavkat's so much bigger than him that I think that fight will be a very tough fight for him. But as we saw in the Ian Gary fight, Shavkat is very human, very human. But I figured I'd throw something out of left field and go with Islam.
That's
That's
not a
my
bad
worst
one.
nightmare.
That's not a bad one. I kept it conventional, man. I'm going with Shavkat. I think that he's just better than everybody in the division right now. He does look human. And it's odd that Ian Gary was the one that made him look human, but maybe it isn't. Maybe Ian Gary is that good. But I think the Shavkat just finds a way. Outside of this last thing we saw, he always finds a way to a finish. And so I'm not going to doubt that at least in this year. So I'm going with Shavkat.
Yeah, I'm not going with Shavkat.
Do you
I
think
think
before the Ian Gary fight, you would have gone with Shavkat?
potentially. I think that I hate Bilal a lot. We know that, but I understand the problems that he poses for a lot of fighters. I think that, I've kind of gone off the shitting on him. He's not the most exciting guy to watch. He's not gonna beat people from pillar to post, but he's extremely effective and extremely hardworking, and I think that means something. I I think Bilal is gonna beat Shavkat in the middle of the year. I think it will go to 5 rounds, and I think he'll do to him what he's done to everyone else. I think he's gonna be more active, and I think he'll just outwork him and win because Shavkat's stock. I know he was injured a bit for that fight. There was circumstances, but the amount of inactivity he had in that fight really concerned me. And I think against somebody like Bilal, that's the worst way you can approach a fight. And I think Bilal's tenacious. I think he's somebody that will put the pressure on. And I don't think Shavkat really likes being in that situation. He's not the easiest guy to submit. So I think Bilal's going to beat Shavkat, but I don't think he's going to end the year as champion. Funnily enough, here I think that the worst matchups for Bilal, looking at the welterweight division now, I wouldn't like his chances against Buckley because of what he brings, and I wouldn't like his chances against JDM because JDM brings the volume and has really good takedown defense. So I think Bilal would really struggle with that. I really think he would because JDM's horrible when he's on the ground. If you get him down, he's fucked. But he's very good at keeping you from taking him down in the first place. And then that work he does to the body and the amount of volume that he throws in, I think that would be horrible for Bilal. And I feel the same way about Buckley. I just think Buckley's very well rounded. But I don't think either of them are going to get a title shot in 2025. So I think that Ian Gary's going to end the year as champion.
Wow, that's a curveball right there.
Again, the reason why I think that is I think he'll get another. I think he'll win. I think he'll get a reasonably decent matchup in 2025 that I think he'll win. And he's somebody that I think the UFC are clearly behind. They clearly favor him for whatever reason. It could be, again, it's that hate brings in there's a lot of fans that hate him, but it brings in eyeballs. For the right or wrong reasons, he brings attention to the sport, and I think he'll be given the opportunity. And I think by the time Bilal gets through Shavkat, again, it's going to be a tough fight to get through. But I think Ian Gary being younger, constantly improving, I think he'll be positioned right at the end of 2025 to swoop in and take the belt from Shavkat. And there was a lot. The way that he finished that fight with Shavkat really impressed me as well. And I think
I got
he's
it.
for as
Go ahead. No. Go ahead. My bad.
Go on.
Oh, I just had a question. Like, who do you guys think Ian Gary's next fight's gonna be?
That's going to be the telling part.
Boy. That's tough. That's really, really tough.
Exactly.
I think they give him somebody like Sean Brady or somebody like that, and he just mows through them. I think they give him a favorable bounce back because I don't think it was in Ian Gary's plan to fight Shavkat this early. I just think he thought, fuck it, I've got to take the opportunity now. I've got to step up because Colby didn't want the fight. I've got to take it. I want to fight at this time. I don't think it was part of his plan to take that fight that early. And I think he kind of just, he sort of went against his plans to do so. And I think his plan was to slow roll a little bit, and I think he's going to go back to doing that. I can see him getting somebody like a Brady or somebody and then winning quite convincingly and then pushing himself back into the forefront again, because I don't think his stock dropped from the Shavkat fight at all. And when Shavkat loses to Bilal, which is what I'm expecting, I think that win will age better, or that loss will age better for Gary, and that people will say, well, he looked pretty good. And if he goes out and wins convincingly, he'll be, he's got the UFC behind him. I can see him getting vaulted into that situation.
Yeah.
So I just think, just purely from that, the old Dana White privilege, I think Ian Gary will be the champ by the end of the year.
It's hard to say. It's hard to go against that, because that privilege is real. It is real.
It's real. I do hope that, I firmly think that Buckley should if Buckley's right there, if he wins one more, and if I was Buckley, I'd be looking to get in there, and he is ranked higher than Gary right now. If I was Buckley, and Buckley's very active as well, he doesn't say no. And at welterweight, he's so good, like so well rounded.
Yeah,
he's on a roll right now. So I don't know. The company seems to like him as well, so there's a chance they might, circumstances play out. Welterweight's going to be very much about timing, but I do love that welterweight's one of my favorite divisions now, and there's a lot going on in that top 10. There's a few in and around there that could potentially. I mean, Leon's not completely out of it. It's not like he's old. He's only 32. If he gets a decent win, he could be back in it. You've got JDM lurking around. You've obviously still got Shavkat in there. You've got Ian Gary. You've got Marias coming up as well, who looks pretty good. There's a few guys that
Prates,
Prates as well. Jesus, man. I think the only reason why I didn't bring Prates into it is because I don't think I think people are going to avoid fighting him in that top 5. I don't think he's going to get a top 5 fight until maybe the end of 2025. But he's somebody who at 2026, if he can keep the momentum going, he's definitely one to look at for next year. But
Michael Morales is another one.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't fight each other. I just hope they don't fight each other.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if they went down. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. But it's a division that timing is going to be very much dependent on this one, because I think it's going to come down to who stays active and who stays healthy. Because there's a few guys that could find themselves in a title fight by the end of the year, and I'm slightly pipping Gary just because of the stock that he has within the company and the way that I think things are going to play out. I hope it's Shavkat though, but I just have a feeling Bilal's going to ruin that for us. But we'll see. All right, middleweight. What do we reckon for middleweight?
Khamzat Borz Chimaev for me.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. I think there's only a couple guys in the division that really can deal with that style of fight, and that's DDP and Fluffy. And Fluffy's too low in the division to be anywhere near Khamzat in 2025. And the DDP Khamzat fight is the fight we all want to see. Like, I think that will be must-see TV, because DDP isn't about backing down, and we know Khamzat is coming forward. So I think that fight will be dynamite, but I'm going with Khamzat.
Yeah. Israel. No, just playing. I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev.
I mean, would it surprise anyone if Israel Adesanya managed to get another title shot this year?
Actually, I think it may happen. I think that if Israel beats Imavov, Hamzat beats Dricus, and then they might give. I mean, people really want to see the Hamzat against Adesanya situation or fight. So that's an opportunity to do it before you lose it. So I think that actually really happened. But I still think Hamzat's going to end the year champ. He's hard to beat. He's hard to beat. What he does. He's really hard. If you can get him in the octagon, he's a problem.
Yeah, that's the issue, though, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
This belt has been a weird one, yeah, because it feels like this belt is since Adesanya, because obviously Adesanya held the belt for a while. It feels like it's been a little bit hot potato since then. Not just obviously because obviously he lost to Pereira, then got it back, and then Strickland took it off him, and then DDP took it off him. So in the last year and a half, we've had multiple times where the titles changed hands. I think Dricus is going to beat Strickland again, and I think he's going to do it more convincingly this time. I'm not too worried about that one. And I think Hamzat will wait in the wings to get that match with DDP, and I think he'll be training specifically for DDP, which again worries me, because with that pit stop, DDP is obviously going to have to focus on dealing with Strickland first, while Hamzat will be in the background training specifically for him, and I think that is an issue. And I think we do get that fight. I think it will be later on in the year. And I'm going to pick DDP to beat him. And I have to, because I've talked so much shit about Hamzat for the last 3.5 years. There's no going back.
Put yourself in the corner,
that
huh?
bill. I can't. Yeah, there's no way. The reason I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say the same thing that I said in Hope when he fought Whitaker.
It was a lot.
We still haven't seen Hamzat outside of that first round. And I firmly believe, like, Dricus is an incredibly strong individual. He's very goofy. He's very, very awkward. And even though he appears to get gassed, we all know this about Dricus. He appears to get gassed, but he manages to keep, to just keep going and plowing forward. I firmly believe that Hamzat won't get DDP out in that first round, and then it gets interesting. Because I think that he has the durability and the grit to kind of like drag him into that deep water, and I think DDP will end this hot potato bullshit in middleweight. And I think we might have to wait a little while for it, because obviously with DDP and Strickland, they're going to beat the tar out of each other. So we probably won't get DDP and Hamzat until the later part of the year. I'd say probably the MSG card might not be crazy if they can finally sort out Hamzat's situation. And especially with Trump being president now, I'm going to bring that up, but those visa issues might just go away.
Maybe.
I would suggest. I believe in DDP. I have to. I'm not gonna I feel like that prediction I made years ago of Hamzat never being champion is clinging by a thread at this point. And I do admit that his performance against Whitaker really impressed me. He looked incredible in that fight. But I'm gonna cling to the hope that I love DDP. I think he's great. And I still want to see him get that Africa card fight as well. And I think that Africa card becomes more possible if he remains champion. And for all the, and again, I hate the fact that Chimaev has been allowed to essentially back out of fights, ruin cards potentially, not fight, and yet find himself in these positions time and time again. And I have a strange feeling they've got different plans for him as well. We'll see what happens with the Alex Pereira situation. Maybe they might throw that in there. Who knows?
I've been wondering why somebody just won't do the Jorge Masvidal Ben Askren with Hamzat, bro. Why hasn't anyone tried it?
What, you mean just run up to him and knee him in the face?
Yeah, like as soon as the fight starts, just run right at him. He's going to shoot 100%.
Yeah, no, I mean he's not as goofy with Ben Askren. That's literally all he does. Whereas Hamzat will fuck around a little bit and try and throw strikes at the beginning. It's not like he runs in and dives immediately.
Did to Kevin Holland.
That's Kevin Holland, though. That's
Because
Kevin
he knew
Holland. I
he
mean,
could.
he saw those twiggy legs and thought, "This is like a Serengeti, bro." He just like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's just if you fuck that up, if you miss,
Yep.
do you know what I mean? It's curtains. I mean, that was a
It's
once in a
true.
lifetime shot to the button. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you might as well.
It's gonna happen either way. Like Hamzat is gonna take you down the first round, so you might as well be offensive.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm putting that Hamzat win, that starching of more on Whitaker's side than I am on. I think Whitaker was a bit scared, and I don't think he played things the right way. And again, the issues that he had with his mouth with the crank and everything. DDP is ridiculously strong, and again, he's just so difficult to deal with because I don't think he knows what he's gonna do. He fights so weird. I think that could pose problems. And again, I'm gonna put the same rationale as I did for the DDP. Sorry, the Hamzat and Whitaker fight as I am for that potential matchup. But then we could all, Strickland could somehow pull it out of the bag, and then your boy is definitely in.
Oh man, Cross would love that if Strickland was the champ.
Bro, I can't stand Strickland, and Hamzat would absolutely maul Sean Strickland, bro. Maul him, dog.
Yeah, it would be.
They got a
That would be
storyline
one I
too.
wouldn't like.
They got a storyline already.
True. And you know, Strickland been
if
talking
Strickland
a lot of cash money shit online too to Hamzat. So
yeah,
I mean,
he has. I want to see again. I'm with you on this one though. I want to see that. I want to see the DDP Hamzat press conference. I like that, that to see because DDP just has a magical way of getting under people's skin.
If he makes Hamzat cry, like, hey.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if the crying is I'd love to see what they should start doing odds for that. Have the DDP money line of can he make somebody cry or not? I think he could make him mad though. There's just something about him that pisses people off.
Yeah.
So I want to see that, but the Strickland Hamzat one wouldn't be bad as well. That'd be a nice back and forth. I think either way we're gonna get Hamzat fighting for the belt. I just think there's two paths for him. I think he goes through Strickland easily, but I think DDP would be much tougher. Praying. So I'm gonna go with DDP keeping the belt. But it could be again. It's a tricky one. All right, light heavyweight, sorry.
Y'all got to come back to me. Don't do that, Jax. Don't do that, Jax. Don't do that, bro. Don't do that.
Oh boy. Okay, so light heavyweight. It's hard not to say Alex Pereira. Now I have gone on a bit about how the relationship between him and Ankalaev and the fact that they haven't fought yet. But I do think that when they do fight, because they will fight this year.
Will they?
I think so. I think it'll happen. Somehow
the UFC hates him. That's the only explanation I can have for it.
They do. They do. But I think it'll happen. I think that Ankalaev has a terrible game plan, tries to strike with him, and Pereira knocks him out too. So I think the Pereira is going to end up somehow retaining the belt throughout the year. I only think he fights twice this year, though.
Yeah, I think he has a less active year as well. I think he's surely not going to be as active as he was last year.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Yeah, for sure. So I got to go with Alex holding on to the belt for a while longer.
Jax, you surprised me, buddy.
Hey, I'm an Alex fan, man. I am. I'm a fan. However, the facts are the facts.
I feel you, bro. I feel you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that Alex retains as well, just purely because the division is awful, and I think it's the second worst division in the UFC. It's the second worst by a considerable margin. Like I only have heavyweight as worse.
Wait, you talking about men's and women's, or just men's?
Oh no, women don't count in anything that I ever talk about.
I thought that's right.
No, let's not get silly now. Let's not get ridiculous. Yeah, no. I think it's purely going to be circumstantial because I think if they were going to do the Ankalaev fight, they would have done it already. Now it could just be a case of I am hearing some people have spoken about this in terms of the reason why Alex is saying that Ankalaev is not next is because he wants to fight in March, and Ankalaev is probably going to do the same thing he did again with the Ramadan thing, and I don't want to fight then. So it could very much be that.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think if Ankalaev does fight him, he's going to be stupid and stand for too long and just get knocked the fuck out, really, or stand long enough to get chinned.
Yeah.
Because he seems like a very stupid man. And I think that's what he does. So I think just purely by circumstances and the fact that it's just such a rotten division. Allberg didn't look very good in his last fight either. I wasn't very impressed with him, so his stock has dropped. It's just a shit division. Blachowicz is on the way out. There's nobody in the division to really step up to him. So I just think circumstance-wise, he will retain, and that's kind of what I'm going to go with. I hope we get I do hope we get the Ankalaev fight, because as much trolling as I've done on him, I do think he deserves it. I mean, obviously he deserves it.
Yeah.
But whether or not the circumstances dictate that it happens or not will be interesting. But yeah, I'm going to go with Pereira, sadly. Nothing too controversial there.
Well, I'm with you too. I think the Ankalaev fight is definitely going to happen. And I think Ankalaev is going to stay on the feet with him, man. I really do. Like, I don't think he's going to go in there and just shoot from jump. I think he's going to go in there and try and prove, like everybody else has, like, hey, like, I'm the better striker. And to be fair, Ankalaev can knock Alex out. Like, that 100% can happen. Absolutely. But I think Alex is going to continue doing what he's been doing. He's just going to catch him, whether that's with a head kick or the left hook. I think it would be beautiful if he catches him with the left hook. I think that would be just perfect with all the talking Ankalaev has been doing. But then again, he may come out and fight smart and just start wrestling off rip, just like Jan Blachowicz did in the first round when he fought Alex. And we all know that Alex has that hold there in this game. We all know it. But if nobody else does it, it doesn't really matter now, does it? So I'm going with Alex Pereira.
Shocked. This was the easiest one.
No surprise, right? No surprise. Y'all knew who I was going with.
No surprise, no. All right, so we'll round this off then with heavyweight. What do we reckon? On paper, this sounds like it should be a very easy one to do, but what do you reckon?
It kind of depends on the timing of when they book hopefully, fingers crossed, they book the Jones-Aspinall fight. Because, like, if they make the Aspinall-Jones fight in the middle of the year, they're not going to fight again unless Aspinall wins, and I think that John Jones is going to win the fight. So I'm going to say John Jones just because of his own personal inactivity at this. But I think he will win that fight.
So here, man, I feel like this one's tricky because we all know the fight that everybody wants to happen. That's John and Aspinall. Frankie, we know. I'm with Jax here. Like, I think John will get it done. Like, I think so many people count him out, and him being up against it and coming into that Aspinall fight, like, he's gonna be the guy where everybody's like, oh, you're gonna lose. This the guy that's gonna do it. And I think we're gonna get a better John Jones that we've gotten in a while, even with the age. And then I think, depending what happens, if John beats Tom and then if Alex wins, then I think we will get that super fight at some point. But that's a long way off. A lot of stuff's got to go right for that to happen, but I'm sticking with John Jones.
Yeah, I'm going to go with John Jones as well. But I'm going to go with it for different reasons. And I think you know where it was coming here. I think John Jones is not going to fight for the entire year.
Oh,
and I think he's not going to fight again. I'm going to go even one step further. I reckon he's going to accept a fight with Tom Aspinall in the middle of the year. and then I think he's going to get injured, and then he's going to basically pull out of the fight and drag it out, and then he's going to come out at the end of the maybe not at the end of the year, but sort of beginning of 2026, and he's going to essentially say that this injury has forced him out of the sport, and then he's going to retire without fighting again so that he can avoid this matchup. And the reason why I think he's going to do this is because, first of all, I don't think that he's going to get the money that he wants for the Tom Aspinall fight, firstly, or what he deems to be worth taking him on. I also think he's scared. I'll put that in there as well. But also, I think he hates him. I think he hates Tom Aspinall. I think he dislikes him as a person. And I think that he wants to drag out for as long as possible Tom Aspinall not being made officially the champion. And for the record, I do think if they do fight, I think Tom Aspinall will beat the shit out of him as well. So I'm going to put that back on record as well. Again, it was watching the Jones and Stipe fight again, which is something else I had to do over the last couple of days for the purpose of the video I've got coming out tomorrow, which you're both on, by the way. So I feel comfortable shouting that out with both of us here. Worst moments of MMA in the UFC in 2024, dropping tomorrow. But having watched it again, I thought Jones looked. I mean, Jones is obviously very. I rate John Jones as a fighter. I really do. I think he's slowed down a little bit, and I think that the stage that he's meeting Tom at this point, I think if they were to meet, it would be horrible for him. I just think the speed that Aspinall's got, the things that he can do, I think he would steamroll him and beat the brakes off him. I really do, and I think Jones knows it. And I don't think John Jones wants that fight. And I think he's enough of an asshole where he'll drag it out. He'll give Tom hope, and I'll fight you, and then he'll pull out, and then he'll just drag it out for as long as possible. And we know that the UFC is not gonna. If he does that, it lowers the possibility of them stripping Jones, because if he accepts the fight, but then gets injured, they can't then strip him and say, "Oh well, Tom's the champion now." And I think the fact that they haven't stripped, I mean, the whole not stripping Tom as interim champion is weird enough anyway. That should have happened the minute that John Jones got into the cage.
Yep.
Instantly should have been, there's no interim champion anymore. But yeah, I think he stalls it out. We don't get a fight from him, and I think he never fights again. Cunt.
It's not a bad take, because that can totally happen. Totally happen.
I think he's enough of an asshole to do it, because I think right now in his mind he's thinking, I don't want to have to fight Tom, but I think part of him as well is he doesn't, as much as he pretends he doesn't care, this duck narrative is annoying him. And I think he thinks to himself, if he accepts the fight but then says he got injured, he's always got that to fall back on. He can be like, well, I took the fight, I was going to fight it, but I got injured, and this injury has derailed my career. And I think that the only fight he wants, and he's been very clear about that, and I've never seen John Jones really waver. He wants the Alex Pereira fight because he knows what he's going to do in that fight, and I don't think he's going to get it. And he certainly shouldn't get it before fighting Tom, because it would just be outrageous. It would be outrageous for them two to fight before Tom gets his chance again. It's just, if he's going to stay at heavyweight, the only way John Jones can get the Alex Pereira fight is if he says, fuck it, I'll give up the heavyweight belt and I'll go down. And I don't think John Jones is capable. I mean, look at him. I can't see him physically being able to get down to that weight again. So if he wants that Alex Pereira fight, he's going to have to go back down, and I don't see it happening. And it takes away the incentive from Alex Pereira as well, because the only reason why I think Pereira wants to fight John Jones is because he wants that third title. And if that gets taken out of the equation, I think it gets dampened for Alex Pereira as well. It makes that less appealing.
Yeah, but there's another side to that argument. If, let's say, Alex beats Ankalaev, at that point, you could argue he's the second greatest light heavyweight ever. Like, it's a legit argument. He'll have the second most title defenses, and then John goes back to 205 and is like the greatest light heavyweight, fighting the second greatest light heavyweight. That could be a storyline too.
I just don't think Jones can make it. I mean, I think storylines-wise, it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, if he could make it, that's Jones's avenue to get him back there. I just don't. Looking at how he physically is now, I don't think at his age that cut. And then again, it's more excuses built in, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. That would be a massive excuse. But I don't think he can make it anymore. I think he's put on too much mass to drop down there at this age.
Yeah, because he looks thick now at heavyweight as well, and he's
Yeah.
not a short guy. Ideally, what we want really is we want John Jones to nut up and fight Aspinall, and I don't care if John Jones wins. Great, I just want him to take the fight, and then we either get the ideal path that I want for this is I want Pereira to fight Ankalaev in the middle of the year and hopefully win, and then for Jones and Aspinall to fight in the middle of the year, and we get a winner either way in that one, and then at the very end of the year, we get that either Pereira versus Aspinall or Pereira versus Jones to see out the year. That would be an ideal way to finish things off.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I just don't think Jones has the balls to do it. I think he knows what's coming. And I don't think the UFC are going to pay him 30 million. I was saying it from the offset. I think people were, I quoted that figure. I think I said 30, 40 million dollars is what it was going to take show money to get John Jones in there with him. And I don't think the UFC are going to pay that as well. And I think what he'll do is he'll say, all right, I'll take 20 and then do what I've just said. He'll stall it out and pull out with the injury. And then I didn't duck him. It will be that. That's what I hate about it.
The money could come if they do some Riyadh season and then Turk al-Sheikh put some money in. That might be the money right there.
Yep, so, bro, you just did it.
Possible. Yeah,
Jack's just made it right there.
But again, I don't even know if Jones will be willing to fight him for 30 million. I honestly think he knows what's coming. I know John Jones is talking up the money thing. I think it's an excuse at this point. I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to give Tom Aspinall the opportunity. I think that's what I'm willing to accept the narrative that maybe John Jones isn't scared. I mean, he should be, because Tom is a real problem. He's probably going to be Jones has never fought somebody that's physically more imposing than him and as well-rounded as him. No. He has every reason to be scared. And I'm not saying that he is. He probably should be. But I think it's more that he just doesn't like the guy. And he's like, fuck him. And he obviously knows that Pereira is a much easier fight as well. And I just don't think I don't think the fight happens. I hope I'm wrong. I'm sticking to my guns on that one. I've said it from the offset. And you know me, I'm very stubborn, even in the face of being very, very wrong. I mean, you can imagine what it was like in my house when Hamzat did what he did to Whitaker. It wasn't a good day for me. It wasn't a good day for me online as well, because there were a lot of people ready with those receipts. It was not a good day. But yeah, I'm gonna go with it not happening. And I'm sticking with that. I hope I'm wrong. But that's just how I see it going. So is there anything else you guys wanna go over or talk, anything that's going on with the channels or anything you guys want to discuss before we sign out? And thanks to everyone who tuned in with the chats. I really appreciate it. Who tuned in general. Is there anything you guys have got coming up that you want to discuss?
No, I think are either one of you guys doing a watch along this weekend?
I'm not.
No.
I'm
going to be in Manchester. My cousin's turning 80, so I'm going to be in Manchester for that. So okay. I might not even watch the card live. It might be that bad. It might be the first one that I haven't watched live in a decade.
It might feel pretty good, man. I've actually thought about that. Like, that's one of my things for this year. I want to, get some of my Saturdays back instead of sitting and watching UFC. So I'm gonna watch a few cards after they happen. So we'll see how that feels. It's gonna be weird.
That might be a few. I've always maintained that might be something that I do. That I start like having a normal life on the weekend and just sleeping and then waking up in the morning and. I've thought about it, but then I just can't help myself. I need to know now, especially because I gamble on a lot of the cards as well. Mm-hmm. It's like it takes the excitement if you wake up and you're just like, oh, I lost, or oh, I won. It's less fun.
Yeah, and then you got to avoid those notifications too.
That's the biggest part. That is the biggest
part.
Because
that's the thing. That's the thing with the amount that I'd have to basically lock everything down, and I just don't. Yeah, it's a problem. So I don't see myself doing it, but I might try it out for this one and see how it goes. Because I'm going to do it for any card. It might as well be this one. See if I can pull it off.
Put your phone in airplane mode. Go to sleep.
Give it a go.
And what
Yeah.
was that?
Thanks to
There was a
everyone.
fight card that was I can't remember which card it was towards the end of the year last year that was on at. I mean, for us across it was
Macau?
over.
And Macau.
That was the one, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it
Macau.
was. How
You
did
lot
you handle that
scumbag
one?
that one so hard. How did I handle that one?
Yeah,
That one was
well,
on
that
a,
came
that
on
one
regular
was on
time
a,
for you, right?
it was on at 10 o'clock in the evening or something, or earlier. I think it finished at 10 in the evening.
How did you handle?
Yeah,
Or
that's
9
how
in. So
we
it
feel.
was,
That's how we feel over here.
yeah,
But for
fuck you
me,
guys.
man, yeah, I got up at like 6 a.m. and just watched the main card.
And how did it feel doing it that way?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, you watch it and then you had the rest of your day to go do whatever you want to do.
And you can kind of, because your average UFC card is like 6 to 7 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of time to be sat. I mean, we're hardcores like no other sport, really.
Yeah.
Because you sit through fucking dross of that. I mean, it's especially these, the Apex ones that is an advantage that an Apex card has is that they tend to be a little bit more fast paced. You tend to get 4 or 5 hours out of them, but even that's a lot of time to be sat there, just like,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm probably gonna do the same as I did last year and just maybe I'll get myself a job so that I force myself to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how things play out. But I'm looking forward to this year. I hope it starts off with a bang. I mean, it's not the greatest card to start the year off with, but 311 is amazing. Maybe we'll do a watch along for that one
That one makes more sense.
Man,
potentially.
depending how these fires are out of LA, I might be going to 311.
Really?
Yeah, it's the day after my birthday, so.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. Yeah, you got to go now.
Time to do it. Yeah, that'd be a nice way to say. I think that card's guaranteed to be amazing, even just for storyline perspective. Even if the fights suck, the amount of the way that it could potentially set up the rest of the year, it's going to be worth it from that perspective. Even just the results will be enough for that fight, for that card. So, yeah. Anyway, boys, it's been a real fun one. Thank you for pitching up.
All right.
Looking forward to doing this more often. A bit of a slow start to the year, but nice to see you guys again. Hope you have a wonderful rest of hope you had a good new year and have a good one moving forward.
Thanks for everybody in the chat, and until next time.
Yep.
Take it easy.
Later.